Hi everyone, it's Formula 1 news and this is the qualifying review of the Italian Grand Prix. Formula 1 came to the qualifying after free practice 3 marked by equality, in which Sebastian Vettel got the fastest time with a margin of just 81 thousandths of a second on Lewis Hamilton. Ferrari started as a theoretical favorite, but first he will have to snatch from Mercedes a pole that they have monopolized since the turbo era began in 2014. In Renault, there was concern, because the DRS of Nico Hülkenberg was stuck beyond the limit during the morning training. Enstone's team changed the rear wing to solve it, but they didn't replace Carlos Sainz because they didn't find any anomaly. The clouds released a light drizzle in the vicinity of the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza at the age of 3 p.m., the time where the qualifying session of the Italian Grand Prix began. The weather forecast calculated a risk of 80% of rain during this session, which began with an ambient temperature of 19 degrees, and the track at 28 degrees. The Q1 started in dry conditions. The drivers rushed to the track, eager to set a quick time before the water arrived. The first to shot were Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen, who climbed to the top of the standings with 1.20.5 and 1.20.7 respectively. Lewis Hamilton and Valtteri Bottas took a few minutes to shot, but they did the third and fifth fastest time. Hamilton scored a 1.21.0, while Bottas followed with a 1.21.3. Daniel Ricciardo didn't roll until the last moment. The Australian dragged a penalty for replacing his power unit, and, consequently, he knew in advance that he would start last. It was enough with one attempt, 1.21.2, to go to Q2 with the fourth best time. The last minutes of Q1 were frenetic. Between the 10th and the 18th place, only 133 thousandths of difference. Fernando Alonso premiered a third set of super soft to look for the pass to Q2, aware that everything will be decided on the last lap. He did it successfully, because his 1.21.8 left him 14th, in a very difficult circuit for his McLaren. The big surprise was the elimination of a firm candidate to Q3, Sergio Perez. The Mexican played with a single round at the beginning of Q1, but his time wasn't enough as soon as the conditions of the track improved. Another illustrious fallen was Charles Leclerc, who was called to fight in front of the middle zone. Brendan Hartley, Marcus Ericsson, and Stoffel Vandoorne complete the cast of eliminated. The Q2 began in dry conditions, and with unanimity regarding the choice of tires, since both Ferraris and both Mercedes opted for the super soft from the start. Lewis Hamilton was the first to strike, with a stratospheric 1.19.7, but Sebastian Vettel responded with a time 13 thousandths faster, 1.19.7, a preview of what will be after the fight for the pole position. While the first swarms were waging their own war, the squads were fighting a step behind. Kimi Raikkonen was third with a 1.20.2, while Valtteri Bottas was fourth with a 1.20.4. Kimi was 400 thousandths of her partner, Valtteri to 600 of his. When Hamilton returned to the pits after his first attempt, he had a small scare at the entrance of the pit lane. He suffered aquaplaning when passed over a stream and his car stayed crossed, although he didn't hit anything. In the middle zone, Esteban Ocon set the pace with a 1.21.3. Carlos Sainz occupied a brilliant 7th position with a 1.21.5, just ahead of the two Haas. Fernando Alonso was 11th. With the clock to zero, Sebastian Vettel found another 10th to reduce his personal record to a stratospheric 1.19.6. In its fast turn, he touched the gravel of the Variante de la Roya with the left tires. Hamilton, who didn't improve, was 100 thousandths apart. Fernando Alonso was left without one last attempt, because Kevin Magnussen wanted to overtake him in the last corner. Result of the struggle, neither of them overcame the cut. The biggest harm was the Danish, whose Haas had more potential to pass to Q3. The commissioners opened an investigation on the matter. The list of eliminated ones integrated the same Magnussen, Sergei Sirotkin, Fernando Alonso, Nico Hülkenberg, and Danny Ricciardo, who didn't roll because he was conscious of his penalty. The Q3 started with Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton as top favorites for the pole position, which was played under dry conditions despite the weather forecast. In the first round, Lewis Hamilton flew in the first set to annihilate the historic record of Juan Pablo Montoya with a 1.19.3, which left him in the provisional first position. Sebastian Vettel left more than a tenth in the first sector, and he made a 1.19.4, which served him to be third, behind Hamilton and his teammate Kimi Raikkonen, who made a 1.19.4. Valtteri Bottas was fourth with a 1.19.9. In the middle zone, Carlos Sainz made a very good lap. The Spaniard was sixth provisional with his Renault, despite the low top speed of this one. His time, a 1.21.1, left him ahead of Esteban Ocon, Roman Grosjean, Pierre Gasly and Lance Stroll, who completed the top 10. With 2 minutes to the end, the drivers returned to the track for one last attempt. Valtteri Bottas came out just ahead of Lewis Hamilton to give the slip to his teammate, who was the first to break Montoya's record with a 1.19.2. Sebastian Vettel took advantage of the recoil of Lewis Hamilton to stop the clock at 1.19.2, a record that had earned him the pole, if not for Kimi Raikkonen, came as an exhalation to stop the clock at 1.19.1 and set the fastest lap in the history of Formula 1. Roman Grosjean led the middle zone with a 1.20.9, while Carlos Sainz left the Renault in 7th place with a 1.21.0. Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly and Lance Stroll completed the top 10. This is one of the best qualifying in the last years. 3 drivers fighting for the pole that wasn't decided until the last second. The best drivers for me in this quali have been Kimi Raikkonen, because finally he has another pole, Lewis Hamilton, because he has finished very close to Ferrari, and Carlos Sainz, because with a car with a very slow top speed, he has finished in 7th position. And this is the qualifying review of the Italian Grand Prix. This is all for today. I hope you like it. In this case, give me a like, comment your impressions and subscribe if you are not. See you in the next video.